The galaxy had always been a place of order, ruled by ancient civilizations that prided themselves on wisdom, control, and power. Every species had its place. Every system had rules. Every life was measured against the long history of survival and conquest. And yet, despite this carefully balanced cosmos, something new appeared, something no one had expected. Human ships arrived quietly at the edge of the Zarnath cluster, small, fragile, and seemingly harmless. At first, the elders of the galaxy barely noticed them. "They are weak," one said, looking at the tiny ships through the observation lenses. "They have no advanced weapons, no shield technology, no fleets. They are nothing compared to us." The other council members nodded in agreement. For centuries, no species had ever entered this region without being measured, studied, or feared. But humans came without ambition. They came without demands. They simply came. The humans were strange to the galaxy's eyes. Their ships were clumsy, their engines noisy, and their designs lacked the elegance that other species considered the mark of intelligence. Yet inside those small ships were beings full of curiosity, hope, and an unusual kind of courage. They explored everything they found. They scanned planets, studied asteroids, and asked questions that seemed naive yet somehow piercing. No matter the danger, humans went forward. They laughed in the face of the unknown, sometimes rushing toward risks that even the bravest alien pilots avoided. "What drives them?" asked a young observer of the Elder Council. "They are reckless. They have no strategy, no real power. They do not understand fear the way we do," one elder replied. "They do not see weakness as a reason to surrender. They see it as a challenge." And indeed, the humans did not care about comparisons, rankings, or fear. They only cared about survival, about understanding, about each other. In every action, there was a strange mixture of innocence and determination. They repaired their ships with what seemed like random ingenuity. They rationed supplies, finding ways to stretch every drop of fuel, every bit of food. When storms struck or meteors pummeled their fragile vessels, they worked together without hesitation, never blaming one another, never giving up. The galaxy watched, fascinated and uneasy. The humans' persistence was something no one had seen before. They did not have centuries of experience with fleets or empires. They did not have perfected shields or weapons capable of instant destruction. And yet, against the odds, they survived. Always. Every time they faced disaster, they adapted. Every failure taught them something new. Every loss seemed only to make them stronger. The elders whispered in disbelief. "It is impossible," one said. "They are so fragile. How can they endure?" And yet humans endured. They survived not because of superior technology, not because of armies or fleets, but because they refused to accept defeat. They were guided by hope, by love for each other, and by an unshakable will to continue. Every human face that appeared on a communication screen radiated courage, curiosity, and a spark of life that made even the oldest alien beings pause. Unwittingly, humans had begun to change the galaxy. Not through force, not through fear, but simply by existing. Other species began to study them more carefully. Some were intrigued. Others were unsettled. One thing was clear: humans were different. They could not be measured by the same standards as anyone else. And as the small human ships sailed deeper into the stars, the galaxy could not predict what was coming next. For in their simplicity, their persistence, and their courage, humans carried a quiet, growing power, a force no one understood, a strength no one anticipated. And in that moment, the universe, vast and ordered as it was, began to tremble at the arrival of a species that would one day become the deadliest in the galaxy. Without even realizing it, the humans did not intend to make enemies. They simply explored. But exploration in the galaxy often had consequences, especially when ancient species ruled certain regions with strict control. The Hreth, a proud and aggressive species, had claimed a cluster of star systems as their own. Their fleets patrolled every sector, and any intrusion was met with immediate force. When the humans' small research vessel drifted into Hreth space, the alarm sounded instantly. Hreth commanders were furious. "They dare enter our territory?" one hissed. "Send them away. Do not hesitate. Show them our power." The humans received a single, calm message in return. "We mean no harm. We only wish to study the stars." The Hreth considered this an insult. Peaceful? The word did not exist in their language when dealing with outsiders. They attacked. Missiles streaked across space, but the humans did not panic. They moved with a strange combination of precision and improvisation, dodging, weaving, and adapting in ways no alien pilot had seen before. Systems that had never worked together were repaired mid-battle. Weapons that seemed simple became surprisingly effective, and when one human ship was destroyed, another human ship rushed to rescue the crew, risking itself without hesitation. The Hareth were stunned. "They learn from every strike," one commander shouted, disbelief in his voice. "They adapt instantly. How is this possible?" The humans were not superpowered, nor did they have technology beyond the understanding of the galaxy. What made them so dangerous was something deeper. They understood fear and pain, but they did not let it control them. Every loss made them more determined. Every failure became a lesson. Every danger became a new opportunity. One human officer, Commander Elena Hayes, spoke quietly to her crew as lasers tore through space around them.
"Keep calm.
Focus on each move. Trust each other. We survive together." And survive they did. By the end of the engagement, the Hareth fleet had been forced to retreat. Their vessels were battered, their pride shattered. They could not understand how such fragile beings had defeated them. Word of the humans' victory spread quickly across nearby systems. Other species watched, some in awe, some in fear. The humans did not celebrate. They did not boast. They repaired their ships, tended to the wounded, and continued their exploration as if nothing had happened. To the galaxy, this calmness was even more terrifying than the battle itself. "The humans, they are unpredictable," whispered a Hareth strategist. "No calculations work. No strategy succeeds. They are something else." The humans themselves did not think of themselves as powerful. They had survived many small battles on their home planet, endured countless hardships, and had grown accustomed to facing death and uncertainty with courage. To them, the encounter with the Hareth was just another challenge to overcome, a puzzle to solve, not a war to win. And yet, from that day, humans began to be noticed differently. They were no longer just another species drifting in the void. They were survivors, learners, and unexpectedly dangerous. They did not seek power, but their resilience made them formidable. They did not wish to conquer, yet their actions changed the balance of the galaxy. Alien historians began to record these events with fascination and fear. "They are small," one scholar wrote. "They are fragile, and yet when threatened, they endure in ways no species has ever endured. They are unstoppable." The humans, unaware of the growing fear, continued their mission. Each new star system brought new discoveries, new lessons, and new friendships with species who were willing to trust them. The galaxy had encountered humans for the first time, and it would never be the same again. In their calm persistence, their courage, and their refusal to yield, humans had already begun to rewrite the rules of the universe. They were no longer invisible. They were no longer insignificant. And in that quiet, unassuming way, the deadliest species in the galaxy had quietly begun its rise, without even realizing it. The humans' reputation spread quietly but steadily. What had started as curiosity had become something else: fear and fascination among the galaxy's older civilizations. The Sorlax Empire, one of the oldest and most powerful forces in known space, saw the humans not as explorers but as a threat. They had grown arrogant, believing that no species could ever challenge their fleets, their technology, or their centuries of control. "We will teach them obedience," the Sorlax Emperor declared, his voice echoing through the grand council halls. "They have no right to wander where we rule. They are weak. They are careless. We will show them the power of the Empire." So, an enormous fleet was sent. Thousands of ships, bristling with weapons, advanced shields, and troops trained for centuries. They expected the humans to panic, scatter, or surrender. They expected an easy victory. What they did not expect was the humans' refusal to fight like any other species. The first encounter began in the Shadow Nebula, where the stars glimmered faintly through thick cosmic dust. The humans' ships were smaller, slower, and outwardly fragile compared to the Sorlax dreadnoughts. But the humans moved with precision that seemed almost intuitive. They avoided traps, outmaneuvered heavy fire, and found weaknesses no computer could detect. Captain Rami Patel, commanding one of the human ships, shouted over the alarms, "Trust your instincts. Cover each other. Remember, we survive together." His crew moved as one, repairing systems under fire, launching countermeasures, and saving wounded allies. Every human vessel acted like a single living organism. The Sorlax fleet was stunned. They had faced thousands of species in rebellion, but none had reacted like this.
How are they still fighting?
A Sorlax admiral muttered, his voice trembling. They should have been destroyed hours ago. And yet, the humans did more than survive. They adapted. They observed Sorlax tactics, learned from every attack, and struck in ways the Empire never anticipated. Where the Sorlax aimed to intimidate, the humans confused. Where the Sorlax expected fear, the humans showed courage. Every time a human ship was destroyed, another took its place, rescuing crew members and using the moment to gain advantage. What terrified the Sorlax most was that humans did not just react. They created opportunities. They used debris as shields, asteroid belts as cover, and even the harsh radiation of the nebula to mask their movements. Their actions were unpredictable, creative, and seemingly fearless. By the time the Sorlax realized the humans were not just survivors but formidable, it was too late. Their carefully planned attack had failed. Ships meant to intimidate were retreating. Troops meant to invade were stranded. Planets meant to be subjugated remained untouched. In the aftermath, the galaxy whispered stories of the humans' unexpected strength. They fight with their minds, their hearts, and their unity, an alien historian wrote. They are not like us. They do not follow the rules of war we understand. They are dangerous. The humans, however, did not celebrate. They did not seek conquest or revenge. They repaired their ships, treated the wounded, and continued on their path of exploration. To them, the battle was only a moment, a challenge overcome. To the galaxy, it was a revelation, a clear signal that humans were no ordinary species. In quiet moments aboard their ships, humans shared stories of their past hardships, famine, war, disease, and survival on a fragile planet. It was these memories, these experiences, that gave them the strength to endure battles no one else could. They did not fight for glory or power. They fought because they had to, and because they cared for one another. By the end of that encounter, the humans were no longer underestimated. The Sorlax Empire, once confident and unyielding, had learned a painful truth. Humans were not weak. They were not naive, and they could not be controlled. The galaxy had witnessed the first signs of a species that would one day reshape the universe, not through ambition, but through determination, empathy, and the refusal to surrender. Humans were learning the ways of the stars, and every lesson they learned made them quietly, terrifyingly stronger. After the clash with the Sorlax Empire, whispers about humans spread across the galaxy. Scholars, historians, and leaders began to investigate the strange species that had survived battles that should have destroyed them. Pieces of information arrived slowly, stories of humans' past, their homeworld, and their history of hardships. What the galaxy learned was both astonishing and terrifying. Humans were survivors in the truest sense. Their home planet had been harsh and unforgiving. Natural disasters, plagues, and wars had shaped them for centuries. Entire civilizations had fallen, yet humanity endured. Each generation learned from the mistakes of the previous one. Each family, each community had been forced to adapt, to innovate, and to care for one another under unimaginable pressure. The galaxy realized something critical. Humans were not formidable because of weapons or fleets. They were formidable because of experience. Every human carried within them the memory of survival, the instinct to endure, and the courage to act when others would hesitate. It was a strength no calculation, no technology, no empire could fully understand. Alien scholars debated endlessly. They are fragile, one historian argued. Their ships are primitive. Their weapons are weak. They cannot survive without cooperation. Exactly, another replied, which is why they are dangerous. They survive not because of power, but because of resilience. They care for each other, and that makes them unstoppable in ways we cannot measure. Even the oldest species began to whisper in fear. Some could not accept it. How could a species so young, so small, and so apparently fragile become so strong? The answer, they realized, was hidden in the humans themselves. Humans did not act out of ambition, greed, or domination. They acted out of necessity, out of curiosity, and out of love for their fellow beings. That combination, the galaxy learned, could not be defeated. On the human ships, life continued as normal. Humans did not boast of their reputation. They shared stories of their ancestors, Tales of survival on a world where food was scarce, disease was common, and war was inevitable. They laughed at their mistakes, celebrated small victories, and cried for those they had lost. It was in this humanity, this mix of hope, pain, and courage, that their true power lay. Captain Elena Hayes spoke to her crew one quiet night as they drifted among the stars. "We survived when everything told us we would fail. We learned when failure seemed certain. We care for each other when others abandon hope. That is our strength. Nothing else matters." The humans themselves did not realize how dangerous they appeared to the galaxy. They explored not to conquer, but to learn. They did not fight to dominate, but to survive. And yet, each encounter with another species, each challenge overcome, made them more feared, more respected, and more powerful in ways they never intended. Alien empires began to see the truth slowly. Humans were unpredictable, not because of tricks or secret technology, but because of who they were. No algorithm could predict human decisions. No ancient code could account for their ingenuity, their stubbornness, their unity. Humans adapted, learned, and grew stronger with every challenge. And in that revelation, the galaxy understood something both thrilling and terrifying. Humans had never been broken. They had never been fully controlled. They had never known a limit they could not surpass. And now, having reached the stars, they carried that unbroken spirit across the galaxy. In quiet councils, alien leaders spoke the words none of them wanted to admit. Perhaps they were never meant to be studied. Perhaps they were meant to be feared. For the humans, life continued simply. They laughed at stars, shared meals aboard their ships, told stories to young explorers, and pressed forward into the unknown. But unknowingly, with every step, every choice, every act of courage and care, they were becoming the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever seen. And in the shadows of the universe, where countless empires watched and calculated, the truth became clear. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the fastest. They were something far more powerful, unpredictable, resilient, and utterly unstoppable. The humans' reputation had grown beyond whispers and rumors. Their resilience, ingenuity, and unexpected victories had reached the ears of every major civilization in the galaxy. It was no longer a question of curiosity. Humans were a factor that could not be ignored. The Galactic Council, a body composed of the most powerful and ancient species, convened in urgent session. The chamber was vast, filled with the glow of energy and holographic star maps. Representatives of countless worlds argued passionately. Some called for containment, others for observation, and a few more fearfully suggested preemptive strikes. Every calculation failed when applied to humans. Every prediction, every strategy seemed useless. "They cannot be measured," one alien diplomat exclaimed, tentacles shaking in frustration. "They are too unpredictable. No simulations work. They adapt, they survive, and they grow stronger with every encounter." "They do not seek power or conquest," another voice countered, calm yet firm. "They fight for survival and for each other. Their strength lies in their empathy. We cannot control what we do not understand." While the council debated, humans continued their work across the galaxy. They healed worlds struck by disasters, negotiated peace between warring species, and shared knowledge freely. They moved quietly, almost humbly, unaware of the fear and fascination they had inspired. Every act of kindness made them stronger. Every act of courage made them more respected. And every encounter reinforced the lesson the galaxy could not ignore. Humans were extraordinary. In the council, a tense silence fell as a human envoy appeared, not in force, not in weapons, but in calm diplomacy. Ambassador Leora Chen spoke softly yet clearly, her voice carrying through the chamber. "We do not seek war," she said. "We do not seek domination. We only wish to learn, to help, and to understand. We ask only for friendship and cooperation." The council members were bewildered. How could a species capable of such destruction also offer such peace? How could they be both a threat and a solution at the same time? Some representatives could not trust it. Others could not believe it, but none could deny it. Meanwhile, humans quietly saved lives in systems where entire populations had been threatened by famine or natural catastrophe. They repaired dying planets, protected colonies from rogue asteroids, and brought communication networks to isolated worlds. Their actions were deliberate, compassionate, and fearless. Slowly, even the skeptics in the council began to notice a pattern. They do not dominate, one elder whispered. They do not conquer, yet they change everything they touch. Entire systems are safer, stronger, and more united because of them. They are dangerous, yes, but not in the way we feared. The more the Council observed, the more they realized the terrible truth. Humans were not dangerous because of weapons, fleets, or politics. They were dangerous because of their very nature. They were relentless, compassionate, and unbreakable. They could endure losses that would crush others, learn from mistakes that would destroy others, and inspire loyalty that no empire had ever commanded. Humans, unaware of the calculations being made about them, continued their simple work. They laughed with alien children, shared meals with strangers, and celebrated victories quietly. And yet with each action they silently reshaped the galaxy. They were no longer just a species. They were a force of nature, unpredictable, unstoppable, and quietly dominant. By the end of the council session, a reluctant conclusion emerged. Humans could not be controlled, contained, or predicted. Any attempt to do so would fail. The galaxy would have to adapt. And in that realization lay both fear and awe. The humans were not the strongest, the fastest, or the most advanced, but they were, in a way the galaxy had never seen, the deadliest species simply because they could never be broken. In quiet chambers, alien leaders whispered almost reverently, "Perhaps we have underestimated them. Perhaps we should have feared them from the beginning." And while the galaxy argued, the humans looked to the stars, smiling at the endless possibilities ahead, unaware that their mere existence had already changed the universe forever. Time passed, and humans continued their journey across the stars, quietly leaving an impact no one fully understood. They did not conquer with weapons, nor did they demand obedience. They conquered through resilience, ingenuity, and the simple act of existing with courage and compassion. Every system they visited, every species they encountered was subtly changed. On the planet Elora, a young species called the Threeni had been struggling to survive after centuries of civil war. Humans arrived by chance, offering medical supplies, teaching new agricultural methods, and helping repair damaged infrastructure. They did not impose rules, they did not command loyalty, they simply helped. Within decades, the Threeni thrived, forming alliances that had been impossible before. Other species observed and began to realize the pattern. Wherever humans went, survival and unity increased. Even the oldest and most powerful civilizations were affected. The Sorlax Empire, once furious and determined to crush humans, found themselves studying human strategies not to fight them, but to learn from them. "They are not trying to dominate us," a Sorlax strategist admitted quietly. "Yet they have changed our tactics, our systems, and our way of thinking. They are quietly dangerous." Humans themselves remained humble. They laughed at stories of their reputation as the galaxy's deadliest species. They did not seek fame or fear. Captain Rami Patel often reminded his crew, "We are not here to conquer. We are here to survive, to learn, and to help. That is all." And yet the galaxy could not ignore them. Humans solved problems no one else could. They navigated cosmic storms that destroyed entire fleets. They negotiated peace treaties where ancient hatred had seemed impossible to resolve. They worked with cooperation, courage, and empathy, turning impossible situations into opportunities. Every small act, every simple gesture of care became a silent declaration of strength. Across the galaxy, alien historians began to write cautiously about the humans. "They are fragile in appearance," one noted. "Their technology is simple. Their numbers are limited, and yet through courage, unity, and persistence they achieve what empires fail to do. They are the deadliest species, not through violence but through life itself. Even among the humans they barely noticed their influence. Children played among alien colonies, laughing in languages they did not fully understand. Scientists shared discoveries with eager students of other species. Farmers helped restore dying planets, and the humans simply moved forward, exploring new systems, studying new stars, always learning, always surviving. What terrified the galaxy most was not their strength, but their unpredictability. No battle plan, no political strategy, no calculation could predict human actions. They did not act out of greed, fear, or ambition. They acted out of empathy, curiosity, and love for each other. And these were qualities the galaxy had long forgotten could be powerful. Captain Elena Hayes, standing on the bridge of her flagship, looked at the stars and said softly to her crew, "We do not need to fight to be strong. We only need to be ourselves. That is enough. Her crew nodded silently. In that quiet moment, they understood the truth. Their strength was not measured by weapons or numbers, but by the courage to face every challenge together, and so, humans spread across the galaxy, not as conquerors, not as rulers, but as a force of nature that could not be contained or predicted. Entire civilizations quietly adapted to their presence, learning from their methods, gaining courage, and realizing that survival was possible in ways they had never imagined. By the end of the century, the galaxy had been reshaped. Fleets were rebuilt to cooperate, not to fight humans. Political alliances formed where hatred had ruled for millennia, and the humans, unaware of their growing legend, continued to explore, laugh, help, and survive. The galaxy had learned a lesson the hard way. Humans were not just another species. They were something extraordinary. And in their humility, their courage, and their unity, they had achieved what no empire, no fleet, and no weapon could ever accomplish. They had become quietly, silently, the deadliest species in the universe.